Hello students, a very warm welcome to you once again. And in our today's session, we will be looking at the section B that we have, because in all the previous videos, we have looked at the section A and the 4 questions that we are having. So let's get started. Uh, the section B has got again a similar pattern as the previous one. Here the question number 5 will be a compulsory question, so you will not be having any option. You will have to attempt all the 5 questions that we are having, and each one of them is going to be roughly for about 150 to 170 words, and it's a 10 marker question, so you will be taking around 2 pages. Whereas in the section A, if you have attempted any 2 questions out of question number 2, 3 and 4, verily in section B, you will have to attempt any 1 question. If you're attempting any 1 question from the section A, here you will have to attempt any 2 questions. And in both the parts, the question number 1 and the question number 5 will be considered as the compulsory one. So this is a very important area that we are going to look, because you will be having some options when it comes to 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 and 8, etc. Let's get started. The first question is talking about describe the various characteristics of social fact. How is the rate of suicide or social fact of Durkheim? GH means idea of development of self, what explained in the aspect of generalized others. Describe the differing principles. Let's look at each one of them in a detailed manner. So as we see, describe the various characteristics of a social fact. How is the rate of suicide or social fact according to Emile Durkheim? And if you look, this question has been taken directly from our UPSC syllabus, so it is coming from a static part, and as we see, the most important unit that we are having is sociological thinkers. In that, the B is basically Emile Durkheim. In that, the second topic is about the suicide. So this question is coming from sociological thinkers, unit 4. The second B thinker, that is Emile Durkheim. In that, we are having 4 topics, and we have a question from suicide. Describe the various characteristic of the word suicide. So as we begin, the first part, you are going to have an introduction. What you will be writing in the introduction is one way you can speak about a definition. It can be a formal definition, or it can also be as an informal definition. What is a formal definition? Durkheim was trying to tell a suicide is like an acting or a thinking or a feeling which is external to an individual, and it brings some kind of an enforcement. So one formal definition that you can have is from the IGNOU book, or you can get it from the Sage dictionary. You have got the Penguin dictionary, and over there Durkheim defines social fact as a form of an acting or as a form of a thinking. So one definition is a formal definition, but if you struggle, you can also be providing an informal definition as well. For example, a suicide is defined as a desperate act of an individual in which the person is aware that what is going to happen to them later on. And what is that awareness? It is bringing an end or a termination to one's life. So in simple terms, we can define the word suicide. The su, it basically means self, and side means a murder or a killing. A suicide can be defined to be as a self-killing. So you need to introduce by providing a definition of the word suicide, and then going to the body part. How will you speak about this? So if you look, Durkheim has always told, what is a suicide? Suicide is regarded to be as a social fact. And what is the meaning of this? If something is regarded as a social fact, it means if something is regarded as a social fact, it means he is trying to tell that there are 3 criteria that it must it is supposed to fulfill. And the first is that phenomena, it must have an externality. It means it is outside control of an individual. Like for example, you're talking about education system, political system, language, all these phenomena, it is outside the control of an individual. So therefore, it has got the element of externality. The second is it's not just external to an individual, but it also tends to have certain kind of an enforcement. There will be some regulations that will be implied and you need to oblige to it. For example, the society is putting so much on pressure on you that a person goes and commits a suicide. So it can be as a Dalit who commits a suicide, a woman who has been widowed, she is going to commit a sati. So Durkheim is telling suicide is not an individual phenomena, but rather it is a sociological phenomena and it is present all over the society. So therefore, the third criteria that we are having is generality and independence. It means it's a phenomena which is seen all around the world. So it tends to have a certain amount of generality as well. So the question is talking about describe the various characteristics of a social fact. So what are the characteristics? These are the three characteristics that we are having: externality, constraint, and generality. So it is defined anything if you are trying to prove as a social fact, it will be on the criterias of E, C, and G. So this is like the heartbeat of Durkheim. He talks about social facts so many times. So what is the heartbeat? His ECG is the heartbeat: externality, constraint, generality, and independence. How is the rate of a suicide how is the rate of suicide a social fact according to Durkheim? So you need to prove that it is an external phenomena outside, because when he was telling in France, suicide was present. He goes to Germany, over there also suicide is present. It is putting some pressure on an individual and therefore they tend to commit that. It is present in all the societies. So therefore, it is a generalized phenomenon. And then he goes and he talks about that suicide, uh, it is it is such a concept which can be described into various different dimensions. And over there he talks that suicides are basically of four types, and he says if the integration is high or if integration is low, if the regulations are high or the regulations are low, it produces different types of suicides. For example, when the integration is going to be low, it will be referred to be as an egoistic suicide. When the regulation is low, it will be referred to be as an anomie suicide. If the integration is high, it will be referred to be as an altruistic suicides. And if the regulations are high, it will be referred to be as a fatalistic suicide. So right now, I am not going to talk in detail about all the four types because this is not a lecture on suicide. So when I'm taking the lecture series, at that time I will be discussing in detail how these four categories are associated. But for now, as a 10 marker question, you just need to highlight the three criterias which declares it as a social fact. Then you need to talk about the four criterias that Durkheim has mentioned about. You need to talk about the four criterias that Durkheim has mentioned about. Just a second. Yeah. So, excuse me. What are the four criterias? These are the four criterias. And then finally, you will be looking and talking about the conclusion that we are having. And what is the conclusion? You need to tell that Durkheim is very much right in declaring that suicide is a sociological phenomena, but he has completely ignored the role of psychology. So it can be declared that suicide is a sociological and a psychological phenomenon. You can just provide a simple conclusion that both the concepts will come together. It is not just an individual phenomena like how father of psychology Sigmund Freud was trying to handle it. It is not a completely sociological phenomena how Emile Durkheim wants to handle it. It's rather a merger of both of them. So in this way, you can easily write 150 words explaining. It's a very easy question. It's a repetitive question which has come in the previous years as well. So let's go into the second question. Coming to the second question, explain G.H. Mead's idea of development of self through the generalized others. If you see, this question has also been taken from the unit 4, and in this the last thinker that we are having is George Herbert Mead. So 5 thinkers are focused at a greater detail, but he is the 6th thinker, and that will be A, B, C, D, E, F. So he is the 6th thinker that we are having, and in that only one topic is there, that is self and identity. So this is a pretty straightforward question. There is no ifs, there are no buts here. The question is asking, explain G.H. Mead's idea of development of self through the generalized others. So first of all, you need to provide an introduction and tell it was George Herbert Mead who is highly associated by studying sociology with a specific approach that he has been coined with or associated with, and that is symbolic interactionism. So he is also associated with starting a school of sociology which is known to be as the Chicago School. So you can talk him with, you can link him with different branches that we are having, such as symbolic interactionism. He wants to study the society in an interactional manner, in a sociological manner. So humans, how do they discover their self? This has been asked. So first of all, in the introduction, you will be talking about what is the meaning of symbolic interactionism. Later on, this school of thought will get developed. It was named to be as Chicago School of Sociology. So Nobel laureate Jane Addams, she is also associated to Chicago School. There are many other sociologists. Let's not get into the detail of Chicago School, but you can use these terminologies in the introduction part. Going to the body part that we are having, what are we going to talk? You need to speak at what is the concept of self all about, basically. And if you see, Mead has been very particular in discussing this term self. And what did he do? He divided this into 2 forms of self. One is called as I, that how an individual tends to perceive things. So this will be labeled to be as a personalized self, and I will write the word personalized self, and the me is considered to be as a socialized self. It means how do you interpret things, but how do you present it in front of the others. So it's basically your personality is developed in a bi-directional manner. Why Mead is different from the other thinkers? Because if you look at Durkheim, he has completely labeled individuals like receptors of externalities. So individuals do not have their own consciousness, they do not react, they just behave. So Durkheim is associated with behaviorism. This is only one direction he is trying to speak. Weber is trying to say individual perceives everything and then they react to it. So he is associated with interpretativism or interpretational sociology. But Mead is trying to bring a junction of both of these concepts. So he tells that how a self is developed. Self is basically developed by a combination of I's and me's. How an individual perceives some things and then how do they tend to react. So for example, if we take, I basically am explaining the answer itself. If we take a look at the game of cricket, how a cricket is explored, basically initially the rules and regulations will be given to you. So the society is telling you the rules and regulations. And once you have understood these rules and regulations, what you will do is you will try to discover that my personality is more associated. I will try to tell that I am a batsman or I can be a bowler. and on the basis of those rules and regulations you try to define yourself. So yourself is not just a mere acceptance of whatever the society will tell you. No, it is also acceptance, then it is also some kind of an interaction that you tend to have with yourself. So somebody will choose that I want to be a batsman, somebody will choose that I want to be a bowler, etc. So in this way it's an interaction of two phenomena, and then they will slowly discover that who are their audiences. They will try to see, then they will try to have their own presence of uniqueness to their game in the realm of those rules and regulations. Understand this, in the name of rules and regulations which has been given by the society, now they are going to present their own uniqueness. For example, Dhoni is trying to represent himself with some helicopter shot. And if you look at the bowlers, Jasprit Bumrah has got his own unique style of bowling, etc. Like every batsman and bowler has got their own uniqueness. This is the way how the self has been developed, and how will it get developed? That's the reason why why meat is going to have its own popularity. He says the personality is basically developed in three stages: first stage, second stage, and then you are having the third stage. In the first stage, what really happens is a person is going to be associated with something called as the birth stage. It is called as an imitation stage. Their mind is not going to be developed, but slowly in a playful manner these different roles are being uh, discussed with them. It is being oriented toward them. So in a playful manner they will know the different roles of society. For example, chore police is there, doctor is there, firefighter is there. So in different way these roles are being given, and then slowly they are going to act according to those roles. So game stage will be learnt or given to them. So what we understand over here is GH mean is talking about the self and what are the stages which will get over there. And then finally what you are going to do is, in the conclusion you are going to provide that Durkheim is telling that the development of self, it is not a biological criteria, neither it is completely a historical phenomenon. So he has basically criticized some other views that the development of self is not a biological phenomena, it is not a historical phenomena, but rather it is produced in an interactional aspect. Out of individual, they will interact with the societies. An individual will react or they will interact with the societies, and that is how the self will get developed. So individual is there, they interact with the society, society will interact with back. So in this way that is how the development will take place. So introduction is there, body is there, conclusion is there, and then I have explained to you what is the example of a cricket, how self is developed. It's a direct question. It's lovely. You can easily write 2 pages providing an introduction of what is the definition of symbolic interactionism, give some name apart from Mead in Chicago School of Sociology. Then you can talk about the urban approaches that we are having. Then he is also associated with the idea of self, and out of the self only the I versus me will finally produce their identity. So their identity is as a batsman, having their own uniqueness, learning it from the rules and regulations, and playing the game how it needs to be played at the ground level. So different stages are there: birth stage, play stage, game stages are there. It's not a biological phenomena, it's not a historical, it's a sociological phenomena produced due to interaction. So this is your question number 2. Let's go to the next question, question number. So coming to the third question that we are having, describe the differing principles of work and organization in a feudal, in a capitalistic society. If you look at this third question, it has been taken from the unit 6 that we are having, economy and social life. And in this, we have got 3 parts. And the first part, it is talking about different types of economic systems which are there in different eras. And separately, they are talking about the feudal and the capitalistic society. So if you look, this question has been taken from unit 6, part A that we are having. So let's just try to jump directly to the introduction. How are you going to introduce? You need to tell that the kind of work organization that has happened in different eras, it has been quite unique. The 18th century has been a turning point. Why? Because before the middle of the 18th century, the work was associated with feudal system, and especially there was an important year in the end of 18th century which is regarded to be as the end of feudalism. 1789 is associated to French Revolution. So before 1750s, it was the feudal society. After 1750, industrial revolution kicks up. It starts. So the first phase, the 1.0 industrial revolution, is associated to a capitalist society. So in the introduction, you can talk about pre 1750, post 1750. You can talk about French Revolution. It is your preference. It's your choice. How do you want to express these things? Then going to the body part. What you have to do is here you need to provide a tabular column in which you will be speaking about different kinds of see, here you will be speaking about different kinds of work that we are having. So one, you will be talking about the associated with feudalism, and then you will be talking about things which are associated to capitalism. If you look, the word feudalism, it has been associated where the production is around agriculture, and capitalism is the where the work is going to be around factory system. That is the main primary difference that we are having. Feudal eras are agrarian societies. Capitalistic systems are going to be around factory systems. Moreover, if you get into more detail, what is the mode of production? What actually produces the wealth for you in a feudal society? The wealth is actually produced by land. But when you look in a capitalistic society, the land is not the one which is producing the wealth for you, but rather it is machines which will do that work. Moreover, the productions is going to happen in a way, only the basic needs are going to be fulfilled. So there is going to be a subsistence mode of production. There is going to be a minimum production that will take place. So things are in a subsistence manner, or it is associated with self-sufficiency. But when you go in a capitalistic society, the production is not minimum. Why the production will take place? Not for just consumption, but the main motto of production is to have maximum amount of profits. So subsistence versus profit orientation, self-sufficiency is exchanged with mass productions that will take place. So this is also one primary difference. Moreover, the hierarchy which is going to be present, it is largely considered to be as a closed society, whereas opposite, it is considered to be as an open society. What is the meaning of this point, closed and open? In a feudalism, the hierarchy is very rigid. So you cannot really jump from one stage to another stage. If you see, the hierarchy is at the top, there will be kings and the noblemen. Then there will be landlords who are going to be there. Then there will be knights. Then there is going to be serfdom, semi-slaves, permanent slaves, bonded labor. It's a rigid hierarchy. Mobility is not easily possible. Therefore, with restricted mobility, we label it like a closed society. But on the other hand, a capitalistic society, there are going to be many opportunities for people to go up and down. It's an open society. You do hard work, you become a semi-skilled worker. You do more hard work, then you become a skilled worker. Then you can become a petty bourgeois. You can become a property-less bourgeois. The mobility keeps on coming in a capitalistic society. Therefore, we refer this as an open society. This will be seen to be as a closed society. And lastly, you can also say that the people who are working over here, they are considered to be as a bonded labor. Here, they are considered to be as a free labor. They can jump from one factory system to another factory system. This is an opportunity that they are associated or they are provided with. Lastly, you can just tell a feudal society is considered to be as a traditional society. Your conclusion will say feudal society is a traditional society, whereas a capitalistic society is considered to be as a modern society. So here you will say in a contrasting manner, both of these are different kinds of work culture which is associated to the economic systems. So it's a pretty straightforward question which is coming from the unit 6, part A, feudalism versus capitalism. You can speak about industrial, pre-industrial, post-industrial. You can talk about pre-French Revolution, post-French Revolution, and then you can create a contrast by providing an introduction, a body part where you can explain these points in detail that we are having. And finally, you're having a conclusion where you say one is associated to old times, one is associated to new times. Both of them are just different types of economic systems. Let's just go to the last question that we are having. Okay. So moving to the fourth question that we have is, how is power different from authority? Discuss various types of authorities as theorized by Max Weber. So if we look, this question has been taken from the fourth unit, the most important unit, sociological thinkers, and in that we separately have a thinker known as Max Weber. There are 4 to 5 topics which are there. This question has been taken from the third topic, Max, the power and authority. So it's a clubbed topic. If you see in the introduction, you can provide in the introduction, just to see. Yeah. In the introduction, you can provide a basic definition of what is the meaning of the word power. And he has differentiated it with the word authority. Like a power is defined as an ability to control or influence others with or without their consent. So, and Weber is one of the first sociologists who was differentiating these two terms. That power is a unidimensional aspect of a relationship, authority is a bidirectional aspect of relationship. So what is a power? It is a form of an ability to control. And the term authority is not very different, but rather it is considered to be as legitimization of power. We are looking at a very simple and a beautiful definition. Power, it is a unidirectional aspect of relationship. When that unidimensional relationship is legitimized, it is accepted, it converts into a form of an authoritative systems. So here the introduction is going to be crisp. You need to separate the two words, power and authority, and then going to the main demand of the question, that is, how different types of authorities has been discussed by Max Weber. So he says the concept of authority, it has kept on changing in different time periods. For example, the earliest form of authority that we have established, it's a traditional form of an authority. Like the religion is a very good example of that. Who has been associated with traditional authorities? The priest tend to have. Example, the Pope in a European society, the Pandit in an Indian society, or a Peer or a priest in an Arab society, the Caliphate, they tend to have traditional authorities. The second authority that we are having is the charismatic authorities which are being, and who is a good example? These are basically the revolutionaries, the philosophers who have tend to provide these. But the ancient times, it had a traditional authority. The medieval times had a charismatic authority. The modern times, they tend to have a legal, a rational authority, but we give a different name for that, and that is the bureaucracy. And who is that? The government is basically considered to be as the government is considered to be as a legal rational systems. So in the body part, you are going to define what is the meaning of authority and its different types which has been there. So kings, the priest is a good example. Revolutionary philosophers, the government, all these are three different aspects. So what is the question? How is power different from authority? The power is different. It is a unidirectional form of a power. What is authority? It's a legitimization of the same power. Discuss the various types of authorities. So if you see Just a second. If you see, Weber has provided three different types of authoritative systems, and then finally in the conclusion you are going to say Weber is one of the first sociologists who has been associated in differentiating the power and authority in a distinct format. Although there are many parallel views, such as there is a thinker called as Michael Foucault, who is trying to provide also a differentiation of power and authority, but Weber is known as the first sociologist. In fact, the term bureaucracy has been labeled to be called as Weberian bureaucracy. So this question is also a direct question. Unit 4, Max Weber, and you are having the third and the fourth part talks about power and authority. It's a pretty interesting question. And then we are having the next question: critically examine the role of science and technology in social change. I need a little bit of more time to discuss this question, social changes. I will be speaking about it because the pandemic is giving me so much of content to speak about online education and teaching. I will be taking this question in a detailed format when I'm discussing the topic of social changes. So what did we see in our today's class? So we were looking at the first, we were looking at the section B that we have. In that we have seen the all the compulsory questions that we are having. So these are the questions that we have discussed. First, we speak about what are the characteristics of a social fact and how the suicide is considered to be as one. Then we talk about how Mead idea of development of self is also a phenomena. Then we talk about the work organization, that how it has shifted, power and authority, discuss the differentiations, and then so that's it. In the fifth part that we are having, we have seen the compulsory questions that we are having: A, B, C, D, and E. I will be discussing all, I have discussed all the questions. I will be speaking about social changes more in detail. In the next video, I will be talking about question number 6, A, B, and C. I want you to write these questions as soon as you have understood. Please kindly share and subscribe to this channel. We are trying to grow this community so that we can go more bigger, and once if we become a bigger community, more amount of such content can be easily be produced. It will be a motivation for me as well. So myself, Dr. Farhan Nasir, I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day.